welcome back. So, as I'm sure everybody knows, the update just recently dropped, and we have some new fun toys to play with. Starting this off with a bang, we're going to be looking at the new premium Guerrilla squads. So, this is going to be Red October for the USSR, they get a fun name, and the 2582nd Volkssturm Battalion for the Germans. Now, both of them are very similar. So far, most of my experience has been using the Volkssturm, but I have used Red October just a little bit. But let's get into it. So, starting with the Volkssturm, per their description, they're formed in winter of 45, shock. They took part in the Battle of Königsberg as part of the 561st Volksgrenadier Division. Guerrillas specialize in carrying out combat missions behind enemy lines, can move freely across territory captured by the enemy, and carry more TNT charges. Their goal is the destruction of enemy equipment, communications, and manpower. Guerrillas carry spare cartridges for different weapons, so when they pick up weapons, they have more ammo. These ones in particular come with the MP719R, which I believe is a PPS 43. They're pretty good. They're pretty cool. Now, let's look at our Russian fellows, the Red October. I love that name. I mean, it's fitting, right? But, you know. Anyway, so, the Red October. The unit was formed in the first days of the war in Oktябрьsk region of Belarus as a defensive guerrilla detachment, which grew into a destruction battalion in July 41. The destruction battalion was reorganized into the Red October guerrilla detachment. It participated in the Polaise region, destroying enemy strongholds, police stations, small garrisons in the villages of the Oktябрьsk and Gluski region districts and by the end of the year it liberated them from their occupiers, and they come with captured MP40s. So, regardless of which squad you look at, when you get them, you're going to get 4 normal guerrillas, and you're going to get a named guerrilla with, like honors, like a gold order soldier, basically. So he's going to give you that 20% bonus XP for having a unique soldier. The German guy looks cool. He comes with an eye patch. He's got like a proper military uniform, where the other guys look more like civilians. And it's a similar case with the Russians, where he has a normal uniform. He's got a red hat, no eye patch on him, but everybody else looks like your standard local civilian. They can't change their primary weapons, but because of the way the squad is laid out, they do get a second weapon slot. We'll get into that in a minute. But they all come with MP719Rs or captured MP40s. The Germans come with Mauser C96s on everybody. They come with a variety of grenades, either normal grenades or explosive packs. Most of them come with TNT charges, which takes advantage. Well, I think they all come with TNT charges, which takes advantage of their skill. I gave them all flasks. I gave some of them AP mines and some of them AT mines. They come with this ammo pouch, which makes it so that they get a significant increase to ammo for primary weapon and any weapon found on the battlefield. So when you pick up an enemy weapon, it's not like a normal soldier where you get whatever's loaded plus 1 mag. You actually get like a full load when you pick up enemy weapons, and you actually carry a substantial amount of ammo for your primary. So like the MP717, it's got a 35 round magazine, but you carry 245 rounds in reserve, which is kind of nutty. They do only get 1 med kit. They can't take any sort of backpack, but like I mentioned before, they can swap out their second primary. So by default, they're BR2 because of their primary gun. I have them running around with Kar 98s because I just wanted to give them some sort of longer ranged weapon. They already have an SMG, so they don't need anything else for assaulting, so I didn't want to give them like a shotgun or a semi-auto rifle or whatever. I'd rather give them the ability to reach out and touch the enemy. They can, however, take SMGs as well, and this gives them potentially a lot of, like, future-proofing power. Like, you can take them up into BR4 or BR5 comfortably, because you can put, like, Guerillas in their second slot, or you can put MP717s in their second slot if you have them from Stalingrad. They can't take assault rifles, unfortunately, but it kind of makes sense. They're partisans, they're really only going to have access to whatever they can loot. But it is nice that you can give them some higher-end submachine guns, and you can give them most of the rifles. I don't think you can give them, FN, or not FNs, the Luftwaffe gun, the FG-42. So you are kind of limited. You can give them all of the bolt-action rifles, though. Although, admittedly, going beyond BR2 or 3, I don't know if I would still give them a bolt-action rifle. Like, the PPS-43, in my opinion, is so good that you can comfortably bring it into BR5, and you're not really going to suffer for it. Like, it just is an excellent gun. I remember when we used to run around with them as the Soviets in Berlin, while we were grinding through the campaign there, and it's every bit as good as what the Germans are going to throw at you. Now, this is something that the Germans have, so, I don't know, compared against like a PPSH, yeah, it shoots a little bit slower, but it's got pretty decent ammo capacity, and it's got good control, so I don't think you're really suffering if you do decide to bring this squad into BR5 and give them a bolt action to just, like, give them the ability to reach out and touch. That being said, you can give them pretty high-end submachine guns, and you can treat them like an assault squad. Now, the big benefit to having these guerrilla squads is that you can go into the gray zone. Now, when you go into the gray zone, there will be, like, red circles on the map, and those are enemy spawn zones. You can't go into enemy spawn zones, or it'll treat it like you go into the gray zone, but you can go up to them, you can go behind them, so you have a lot of flexibility. Now, the biggest downside to this squad, in my opinion, and this goes for the tech tree ones, but I'll probably make a separate video on them in the future. They don't get any sort of specialists, and they are Volkssturm, or they are guerrillas, depending, you know, which one you're looking at. So it kind of makes sense that they don't get any sort of specialist. However, in my personal opinion, I would have liked to have seen a single specialist slot where you could take either an AT soldier, a machine gunner, or a sniper. Like, it makes sense they're not going to have a radio operator, but, like, realistically, somebody could have a rifle that they put a scope on, or somebody could have stolen one of the machine guns after they did a raid somewhere, or somebody could have, I don't know, stuffed a few Panzerfausts in their backpack after they raided, like, that ammo depot that they blew up last week. Like, this is kind of what I'm getting at, because it is an advantage that they can run around the enemy backline. It is very strong, it is very useful. However, number one, you have to be able to reach there, and the AI's stupidity will consistently get in the way of that. Number two, once you do get there, you can try to play havoc with them, and you can lay some traps. Like, you can set up your TNT or your mines or whatever in places where you want to ambush the enemy, and you could pop out and lay ambushes, but, like, Enlisted is a fairly fast-paced game. More often than not, you're gonna, like, circle in behind them, shoot a few guys, and then probably move into the objective, or you'll find, like, a choke point and try to hold that for a while to delay the enemy from getting back to the objective. More often than not, you're not in a position to, like, really play hell with them. Like, you're just a rogue, a little speed bump. And when it comes to taking out tanks, like, if you've got mines and you can put them down, I think that's probably the best way to deal with them. Otherwise, you're like any other soldier, where you're throwing, like, explosive packs or placing TNT charges on them, and that requires the tank to cooperate with you. The problem here, like, in theory, right, you think, oh, I go behind enemy lines, the enemy tanks are there, I blow them up, right? In in a practical sense, that doesn't actually work out that way, because the tank, most of them, are driving to the front. And because they're driving to the front, they just drive right past you. And you want to run after them and throw an explosive pack at them, but the thing is, your explosive packs, because of the nature of an explosive pack, bounce off the back of the tank. Or, even worse, God forbid you try to put down a TNT charge on the tank, it just drives past you, and it doesn't get put on there. So, if you're going to go after, or if you're taking these specifically because you want to deal with tanks, they're going to excel at dealing with gray zone camping tanks, which, at least in my experience, has been a bit of a rarity lately. Now, number one, you're going to have to be able to get there, right? If the tank has good line of sights, good luck. But let's assume you're already behind their lines, and you come across the tank, and it's just sitting. Then, sure, throwing an explosive pack on it, or placing a TNT charge on it, it's going to work just fine. But, in the previous scenario where they're just spawning and heading to the front, you're going to have AT mines already down on the road, or you're going to have TNT charges already down in places where they're going to have to drive through, and you're going to have to be sitting there and waiting to detonate them. So, the point here is that they are good because their skill, or their quirk, or their gimmick allows them to do neat things that were previously not available in-game. And they look stylish while they're doing it, let's be real, they look cool. But, playing them purely as a backline harassing unit is not as effective as you might initially expect it to be. So be prepared for that. They're good, but like if they had an AT soldier, they would be excellent, because you'd be able to just peek-a-boom tanks. That's probably why they don't have it. But, if you prepare, and if you plan ahead, you can deal with them really well. Now, looking at the Russian fellows, I mentioned before they come with captured MP40s. They come with Tokarev TT pistols instead of the broomstick pistol. They all come with TNT charges, although, like I said, I'm swapping some of them for AT mines and AP mines. I just think that they're potentially more useful. Even though you get multiple TNT charges, so you could theoretically lay like multiple ambushes or whatever. I like the idea of laying AT mines because they're like fire and forget. Like, I can place them down somewhere where a tank's probably going to drive by, and I don't have to sit there and wait for the tank. If you take the TNT charges and you want to lay like anti-tank ambushes, you have to wait until the tank gets there. And I feel like my time is better spent putting down an AT mine and then like running off to go shoot people. But to each his own. You might find more success with other methods. My method is not the only method, and it's probably not even the best method. It's just my method. Other than that, getting into perks, I haven't changed the perks on my Soviet squad yet, so they come by default with sprint speed. This isn't mobility. The like 5.3% just innate. That's what they have for being Guerillas. Then they have 2 points in jump height, 3 points in movement crawl speed. In vitality, they've got 2 points in health restored by med pack, and in weapon, they have horizontal recoil. Honestly, I think these perks are garbage. Not all of them, but like health restored by med pack is good because you have one, but they only get like 16 points. So if I look at, for example, my Germans, the way I have my Germans laid out, I reset their perks. I put 1 point into fire extinguishing because I had 16 points in mobility, and then I put 1 point into weapon changing speed and 4 into melee damage and attack speed. I just needed somewhere to burn points so I could unlock the other tiers that I actually care about. Vitality, I took vitality because if I'm going to be running into enemy lines and trying to line break them, I want my guys to have survivability, and right now, only having one med kit, they don't have survivability. In addition to that, in mobility, I gave them run speed, and I gave them medpack usage speed. Medpack usage speed, to be honest, is probably kind of scuffed here. I probably could have given them the 15% sprint speed, and it might be better. I just like being able to use the medpack quickly because it allows me to either get back up quickly or it allows me to top up quickly in a pinch. So I feel like it just, I just like it. You might find more success though with the extra sprint speed because you might be able to get where you're going faster. But then over in weapons, I put 3 into vertical and 2 into reload. It really comes down to how you're equipping these guys. If you're giving their second slot a weapon that needs horizontal reduction, then I guess you can take horizontal. But I personally am just happier with reload speed, and then whatever's left can go into vertical, especially with the Germans using the MP719R, because it's 29x10 recoil. Like, the horizontal may as well not exist. So if I'm going to get recoil reduction, I'd take vertical. It doesn't even really need vertical reduction, it's just somewhere that I had, like, points to burn, because I already had reload speed. When it comes to the Russians, contrary to the way the Germans are, where I mentioned the Germans can play up really well, I don't think the Russians play up as well by default. Like, the MP40 is a satisfactory weapon if you're playing up. However, it wouldn't be my first choice as a weapon to play up with, so I think they do need their second slot. The good thing for the Russians, though, is that they have a ton of really good submachine guns available, so they can play, like, BR5 very easily just by putting, like, a PPSH-41 with the drum mag on, or by putting on, like, the M21-28 Thompsons, or putting on, like, a PPD-40 or whatever, right? Like, you've got options. So, comparing them to other squads, they offer something very unique that an assault squad wouldn't. So, I think, generally speaking, I would rather have them as a premium squad than a premium assault squad. I normally don't really recommend premium assault squads, though, so that's not really saying a whole lot. Compared to a Hectory assault squad, you are losing out on 2 members of your squad, because you're a 5-man squad. And you are also missing out on specialists, which really, really does suck. But you can pick up enemy weapons, which is nice. Like, it's just nice, though. It's not great. Like, it's cool that when you run out of ammo, you can pick up enemy weapons, and you can have full ammo. But it's not like it's game-changing to be able to do that. You also already carry a lot of ammo for your primary, which is actually really nice. It's kind of like running around with large ammo bags, but I think you actually carry even more, so that is actually really nice. And your ability to line break and go and run around behind enemy lines is nice. I just don't know if that makes up for the lack of specialists and the lack of manpower, because all of this, like, the whole playstyle for the Guerillas is contingent on your team doing well enough that you can get out of your spawn, wherever that is, whether it's a spawn beacon at the front line, or it's your spawn all the way at the back of the map, and then crossing the map into their territory, and then doing something. And I mentioned it before, but the AI in this game is so fucking brain dead. Like, your AI, the ones that follow you around. Like, more than any other squad in the game. I'm sure all of us have had these situations where you run somewhere, you get shot, and you're like, okay, I'll switch to the next guy in my squad. And he's like 2 blocks down the road playing fuck. And you sit there and you're like, oh, why isn't this guy following me, right? With a normal squad, because I'm just going from spawn to the objective, it's usually not that far, so I don't mind it too much. But with these guys, more than any other squad, I wish that my AI would move at my pace and follow my footsteps exactly. Like, I'm not trying to just get to the objective, I'm trying to circumvent the enemy team and pop up behind them, okay? It's not like this simple little thing where you can just run at them and pray. Like, no, your guys are going to get blown apart doing that. So, if the AI was smarter, I think I'd be happier with these guys. There's just been a lot of situations where they end up either out of position, like significantly out of position, like far behind where I want them to be. And the entire time I've been playing them, like, they're fun to play. Just from a fun factor or like a uniqueness factor, yeah, I absolutely recommend them. I think they're really cool. I think that they're fun to use. I think they offer a different gameplay loop. But when it comes to like effectiveness and efficiency, the whole time I was sitting there asking myself, how much am I actually doing for my team right now? And would I just not be more effective if I just ran at the objective with like a 7-man assault squad like I normally could? Because I'd be putting more bodies on the objective. Yes, I get to harass people this way, but there are times with assault squads where I can go in between the enemy spawn and the objective, and I can harass them and like delay their reinforcements. So, again, I'm not sure how much I'm actually gaining with these guerrillas. I really do feel like they would be tremendously powerful if they had an AT soldier. Like, bordering on like broken, to be honest. Which makes me kind of wish that they did have one, because it'd be nice to have that one guy in your squad that you had to protect him, but if you keep him alive, then you can like pop out of windows and hit like tanks and APCs and whatnot while they're going to the front, without having to spend all the time to sit there and set up an ambush and like waste manpower not really doing anything in the hope that somebody comes your way. So like, I don't know, it's a mixed bag. Definitely I would recommend them over a normal assault squad. I probably wouldn't recommend them over like a half-track or a paratrooper squad. I feel like both of those are probably still more versatile and still more useful. But these guys are definitely unique, and they fall into that category like the half-tracks, and to some extent like the paratroopers, where they do bring a new gameplay loop, and they do actually do something interesting. Like, they're definitely a much better addition to the game than like the rocket artillery. Like the rocket artillery, whether it's rockets coming in or normal artillery, if it didn't have the sound effect, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference because they just do the same thing. More or less. I know that there are like little tiny nuance differences, but effectively it feels the same when you get hit by both of them. So do with that as you will. I think for their like pre-order price point, I think that they were a fair buy. Just think it was like 24 or like 29, something like that for the pack of both of them. So I mean, it's 2 squads for what, like $15 each. That's not bad. But yeah, let me know what you think down below if you've played with them. Maybe you've been the victim of them. Maybe you're just fuming over here and you're like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? They're so broken as it is. I can't believe these guys can shoot me in the back. I don't know. You might be right. I don't feel like I've run into a whole lot of them yet, but I also tend to play pretty aggressively and play like forward. So these guys aren't really designed to fight me. These guys are designed for me to play, to be honest. But like I said, let me know what you think down below. I think that they're a cool addition. I think that they're a fun addition. They're probably balanced because, you know, they can do cool things, but they don't quite have the power level of like a normal assault squad. I don't know. They fit the role. I'm happy with them. So as per usual, get out there, kick ass, take names, and win your games.